Hello friends! Today I'll be making a mermaid for Mermay. Last year when I made the mermaid tail pattern, I had about a billion ideas of how I wanted to use it, and this is one of those ideas I had. Her tail is made using the Siamese fighting fish version of the pattern, and she's going to be a Starlight mermaid. This has become an accidental series, which I'll be continuing on my channel. So before we get started, please like, sub and comment for the algorithm. I really appreciate it. It genuinely helps me out. Today I'll be using Operetta. I've wanted to use her for absolutely ages, but didn't know how to incorporate her scars into the design. I'm preparing her as usual. I'm heating the vinyl of her head with my hairdryer until it's soft. Pulling her head off. Shaving her head. Scraping the glue and the hair from inside the head with a screwdriver. Pulling everything out from the inside of her head with a pair of needle nose pliers and removing her factory face paint with pure acetone. I really like Operetta's sculpt. She has the cutest nose. She's going to be getting an airbrush blush and colour change, and also on Instagram I've been seeing lots of 3D printed boobs, and I was like, I can do that. So I had a go and I wanted to test out the prototypes on this doll, so I'll be adding her boobies, but bear in mind that this is just like a test practice prototype run. I'm happy with the design, but not how they fit to the doll's body, so I'm going to try and work on that. I needed to buff her body for the airbrush colour change, but also this is going to help the super glue adhere to her body. So I'm filling the boobs with quite a lot of super glue, keeping those that way up and then attaching the doll booby face down so that I don't cover myself in super glue. After giving that a little bit of time to dry, I'm taking polygel and using that to fill in the gap between her boobs and her body, and also to blend the transition between the print and the body. Once that's cured, I'm sanding and adjusting, and then when I'm roughly happy with it, I sprayed it with automotive putty, which helps you see if there are any uneven patches, but also because it's sandable, you can then make adjustments to that. I airbrushed her head and body and then gave her 3 coats of Mr. Super Clear. I want her scars to look magical, so I'm adding a lot of white pastel here so that hopefully it'll look like it's glowing. When I did her colour change with the airbrush, I also blushed her. I also made my airbrush spatter a bit with a white to give her skin tone a little bit of interest. I also thought that this was going to look a bit like how light refracts off of moving water, and also kind of like sea foam. For me, the first layer is always the slowest. I'm trying very hard to get all of the features on the face where I want them and in the shape I want them. I tend to start with the eyes, and I absolutely cannot draw one and then the other. I have to mirror what I've done immediately and compare. I can't remember what I've done to go back. I try and start with a paler colour that's going to stay if I use a kneaded eraser over it. I'm trying to push myself a little bit because you know I love a split complementary colour scheme, but with this one I kind of wanted to try something different, so I'm on an analogous colour scheme, which means I'm using blues and purples, and then I'm going to accent with some multicoloured colours. So because of that, I decided to give her purple eyes with a dark blue at the top. And her brows, I went with blue, it's kind of blue. I used a Payne's grey to put the brow shape in, but Payne's grey is very cool. And then when I put the hairs of her brows in, I'm using purple, blue and black. I already blushed this doll when I was doing the airbrush colour change, so I didn't do a whole lot of cheek blusher, but I did do shading around her nose, and this time I used a much redder brown than I tend to use, and I really liked how it looked. I used that quite a lot on her lips as well. This doll started freaking me out quite a lot while I was working on her. My mental health's not been great, to be fair, so I don't know if that's part of it, but I don't know if it was because I verged a bit uncanny valley with her. I don't know. I don't know what it is that weirded me out, but let me know if you're getting the same thing, because I still get it a bit when I look at her. I'm always worried about same face syndrome. I think it's a fine line between having your own style and same face, and one of the ways that I try and combat this, and I don't know if it works, you have to let me know in the comments, is by trying to alter the eye shape. My preferred way of drawing eyes is a downturned eye, and so with this doll I decided to do almond, which I very rarely do. Having said that, I think I did that on my bunny doll as well. And I don't tend to draw much in the way of eyelids. I did with this doll. I also tried to give her a poochy under eye thing going on. I couldn't find my black gouache when I was doing this, and I wanted to use that for the eyelashes, so I scribbled the black watercolour pencil onto the piece of paper, added a little bit of blue to that because I did want a blue tone, and then wet it. Although I did blush her body, I couldn't get as much detail as I wanted, so I'm blushing with pastels as well. I'm also giving those fabulous boobaloobies some nips. I'm never going to get monetization on this video. I then added more of those white freckles on her face and body. I want the scar to look magical and ocean-like and starlight-like, so I wanted to connect those all together, so I'm putting the most density around that. I also gave her freckles in metallic watercolour, and then in the scars I used the 2 iridescent metallic watercolours that I had. The inspiration for this was when Rapunzel's hair lights up underwater in the film Tangled. If you've watched any of my videos in the last year, you'll know I'm madly in love with viscose at the moment, and I ordered quite a bit from Viscose Heaven and had some other colours already. I know that I want the majority of her hair to be black, but where that scar is, I want it to look like the magic is going through her hair as well. So I'm going to do multicoloured pastel streak there with quite a bit of white in it as well. Filmed all of this with my hand in front of the camera. As I often do with viscose, I glue most of it and then I'm just rerouting the bits that matter. So for this doll, that's just her parting really. There's only a few plugs inside her head that I need to secure, so I'm just using a paintbrush with a bit of PVA glue. This is the 4th Mer person I've done on this channel, and I am yet to give them a crown, so she's getting a shell crown. Ordered some tiny shells, and then I just fished out the ones that I liked and thought were interesting. Then I made kind of a base out of wire, just using a big piece of steel wire, then wrapping tiny jewellery wire around it, just in loops, just so I have something to glue onto. Then using hot glue, I attached the shells. I'm doing both kind of a front and a back to this. So right now I'm working on the back. and then this will be the front. Then I'm adding loads of gems, just different sizes of gems and pearls. My idea with this is that she like found these gems in a shipwreck or something. I didn't think the shells were really fitting with the overall design. I was hoping that they would, they didn't. So I mixed some mica powder with acrylic medium, and then I'm just painting that on. Mermaids have got to have a beachy wave. I'm heating up a screwdriver with my hair straighteners and then wrapping her hair around it, holding it for about 20 seconds and then pulling that off. The glove is a heat-proof glove, like the one that you would use with a hair straightener. I do love these ringlets, but they're too tight for what I want for this project, so using the tip of my scissors, I'm just breaking apart those curls. And then using a cave club comb, I'm brushing those through as well. I added the crown and then kind of pulled the front of her hair back and sewed that in place. Same on the other side. And then to make sure that that stays, I'm giving that a good spray with hairspray. This has got to be glued, which is super strong. I'm covering her face and her crown to make sure it doesn't go on those, because I don't want that to affect the way she looks. And then while that was still wet, I sprinkled in some glitter, cause sparkles. So that's the crown and her hair. This is the tail I made. I have a whole separate video about how to construct this tail. The pattern is available on my Etsy or free to all of my $5 and above tier patrons. She's a magical starlight mermaid, so I want it to look like there's stars like reflected in the water, or that she could be like, I don't know, in the sky. I'm not completely sure. So I'm giving her a lot of crystals. I used mostly silver and AB with some accents of multicolours. And I'm doing this on every layer of the chiffon, and as I started I really regretted it, but I soldiered on and we're done. Just kidding, I've got to do the other side. I actually really like the back. I think I like the back more than the front. Already mentioned about monetization. We know Susan is completely against boobs, so I'm going to make her a top. I spent a long time thinking about this. I wasn't sure what I wanted to do, and then I thought about making it look a bit like a fishing net that she's then added stuff to. So for the base of the fishing net, I was like, well, I'll just crochet lace. Like, crocheting lace has been my hobby for like 10 years. This is the smallest crochet hook I can find. I think it's the smallest one that's made. This is not new to me. A decade. I was so frustrated with this. I had to rage quit repeatedly. I'm going to keep the sound in of the rage quits and the tantrums. But yeah, it took hours.
These, you can just spades, probably the hardest. The individual colors. So in our first little indentations all over, yeah, down the middle too. Tap that in. I'm going to go ahead and spritz the top with some rubbing alcohol. As all of my childhood dreams of Let's Play Mermaids has now been realized, and my best friend can come over at any time and stay the night at my house, and we can turn on the light in the pool and mermaid our way around, and I get to do it with my younger sisters and my daughter, so tell me that this isn't just the greatest ever. Anyways, do something that makes you happy, not what makes me happy.
Making the acrylic look like it was separating, which sometimes
I would never want to pour it into the mold when it has this texture, but it's gonna be just alrighty. We have all that white layer on. I have to shout out though, it's unrelated to Peach, but
Hated the first version. It looked like a dishcloth, and to be fair, I think I did crochet it in the stitch my grandmother used to use to make dishcloths, so I mean that checks out. The second one I liked much more, and it was a much more pleasurable experience, so there was a rage quit in there as well. Okay, 2 rage quits.
first one I'm adding here.
His father taught him.
I also changed the colours. I started out with the greens that she's got in her hair and I just hated it, so went over to silver. I chain stitched to make a neck strap, and then I'm blocking this with very watered down PVA. There's wire through the top of the top and also the neck strap, which will help me fit it to the doll later. I pressed that into her chest to try and get a good tight fit, and then, like with her crown, I'm adding shells and jewels to make it look like these are things she's found and that she likes, and so she wants to wear them. Looks rubbish in my hand, love how it looks on the doll. And then I put her back together. So what do you think? Did you participate in Mermaid this year? I barely made it in time, really. So with the rest of this accidental series, I've got this magical Starlight Mermaid. I've already done a magical Moonlight Fairy. I've not edited her. Subscribe if you want to see her in the future. So the logical third being in the group is a magical Sunlight something. So what something should I do? What do you think? Thank you very much for watching. I really appreciate it. Thanks very much to my patrons, especially Jade and Camilla. You're extra specially awesome. If you want to become a patron for exclusive content, check the description box. My links are all down there. And hopefully I'll see you in the next one. Thanks. Bye.